Dark Myth WuKong. Chapter 38. Water Element, God Stone. Shui Shu quietly observed Sun WuKong. Waiting until WuKong had processed the recent words, the elder continued.
Great sage, now that you know about Flower Fruit Mountain and your monkey descendants, your heart should be somewhat at ease, shouldn't it? Then listen as I speak of the path ahead for you, great sage.
Hearing mention of his future direction, Sun WuKong immediately sat up straight, listening intently.
Great sage, do you know what that heaven-piercing, earth-shattering golden light was on the day you ascended?
Sun WuKong shook his head. Shui Shu gave a faint smile and continued.
That ray of golden light is far from simple. Does the great sage know the name Kong Xuan?
Sun WuKong pondered for a moment, then replied,
Is it Kong Xuan, the eldest son of Yuan Feng, the patriarch of the Phoenix clan, the first five-colored peacock between heaven and earth transformed from a phoenix?
It seems the great sage is well informed. Then does the great sage know of Kong Xuan's renowned ultimate technique, the five-colored divine light?
Sun WuKong nodded.
The golden light just now was one of the 5 rays of Kong Xuan's five-colored divine light. It is famed as nothing in heaven and earth cannot be brushed away, truly invincible.
It was Kong Xuan's five-colored divine light. No wonder when I flew up reflecting the light, I kept feeling this golden light cleansing the impurities in my body layer by layer. I thought it was just my imagination.
Correct. That was no illusion. An ancient mighty figure of our demon race after Kong Xuan's death extracted the golden divine light, alone, from his five-colored divine light, and fused it with the five-colored aurora that coincidentally appeared in the extreme north. This ultimately formed this divine light, capable of purifying the body, naming it the Primordial Body Cleansing Light. It's just a pity that the five-colored divine light was never an ordinary object. Even fused with the five-colored aurora, its power is still too domineering. Those below the saint realm can endure it for at most 20 breaths. Otherwise, their bodies will be damaged, the loss outweighing the gain. The limit for a lower-ranked saint is 40 breaths, a mid-ranked saint 60 breaths, and an upper-ranked saint 70 breaths. Even a peak saint only reaches 88 breaths. Since the appearance of this primordial body cleansing light, countless brilliant talents of our demon race have emerged, yet none have surpassed 90 breaths.
Sun WuKong couldn't help but be astonished, his eyes wide and mouth agape. He then asked,
Elder, how long did I manage to endure in there?
Shui Shu's eyes shone brightly as he looked at Sun WuKong. After a long moment, he spoke with extreme solemnity.
Great sage, within the primordial body cleansing light, you endured for precisely 100 breaths. In the history of our demon race, no one has ever reached that state. The great sage's future potential is immeasurable.
That long. Although he felt the time he endured wouldn't be short, Sun WuKong hadn't expected it to reach 100 breaths. That golden light's pressure increased the further one went. WuKong had no doubt that if he threw his golden cudgel in there, it would definitely be crushed into scrap metal. If he hadn't activated his great ape body at the end, he likely wouldn't have been able to endure for so long.
Great sage, I have said what needed to be said. For the remaining time, great sage, cultivate here. After thoroughly consolidating your strength, you can then fuse with the water element, God's stone at your convenience.
With that said, Shui Shu transformed into a wisp of steam and vanished into the void. Only Sun WuKong remained, sitting cross-legged in the stone cave, silently contemplating the path ahead. Half a day passed, and Sun WuKong remained in the same posture, motionless. It wasn't until 3 days later that the immobile Sun WuKong suddenly stood up, his eyes flashing with sharp light, devoid of any trace of confusion. He then walked over to the cold jade ice bed, sat down cross-legged, and began to cultivate. Although he had successfully fused the metal element God Stone, it didn't mean Sun WuKong had mastered the metal element divine abilities. This process required an extremely long and tedious period of comprehension. Only through true understanding could he genuinely wield the power of metal, the firmest and sharpest force in this heaven and earth, making it a part of himself. Metal, what is it? Is it invincibility? Is it sturdy defense? Is it the courage to advance unflinchingly? Or is it the persistence to stand firm? While painstakingly pondering the true nature of metal's power, the golden cudgel hidden in Sun WuKong's ear suddenly began to pulse rhythmically. With each pulse, the metal attribute spiritual energy and power within WuKong surged accordingly. Gradually, the golden cudgel moved from Sun WuKong's ear into the Baihui acupoint on the crown of his head. When Sun WuKong realized what was happening, he was instantly terrified, his soul nearly scattering. The Baihui acupoint? That was the location of one's sea of consciousness. For Sun WuKong, it was even more critical because it housed his own spiritual essence. The 5 colored godstones were so wondrous precisely because each stone contained a core of spiritual essence from the beginning of creation. This spiritual essence was the primordial chaos chi that existed in the cosmic primordial era before heaven and earth were formed. This chaos chi was extremely precious. Obtaining even a sliver brought immense benefits to one's cultivation and Dao attainment. Not to mention, this was the 5-colored spiritual essence condensed from chaos chi. Even though the 5-colored spiritual essence had been divided into 5 parts, the profound Great Dao of heavenly principles contained within was still incredibly rare in the world. It could be said that apart from a few rare heavenly treasures on earth, no other object was inherently imbued with the rules of the heavenly Dao at birth. Pitifully, Sun WuKong's original body, the earth element 5-colored godstone, had been contaminated by the mundane chi of the mortal world, and had undergone too many reincarnations, causing its spiritual essence to be seemingly completely imprisoned within his sea of consciousness. Sun WuKong could clearly sense the heavenly Dao rules hidden within his sea of consciousness. If he could access and comprehend it, he would grasp the Great Dao of Earth. But alas, after so many years, less than 1/10,000th of that spiritual essence had been absorbed. Most of it had been sucked away by the golden fillet that Tathagata had forced him to wear back then. Later, during the previous Great War, when trapped by Tathagata, about 1% more of the spiritual essence was drained. Even so, 99% still remained. It was just that Sun WuKong suffered from having no method, forced to gaze upon a mountain of treasure yet unable to claim it. The anguish and torment were unbearable for any ordinary person. But this time, unexpectedly, the golden cudgel that had been his companion day and night for thousands of years suddenly acted on its own. Just as he was comprehending the Great Dao of Metal, it trespassed into his sea of consciousness, and since its entry, he had completely lost control over it. Therefore, Sun WuKong knew very well that if this continued, the slightest misstep could destroy his sea of consciousness, turning him into a cripple. Yet, he had no way to stop it. He could only observe the golden cudgel with his divine sense, not daring to make the slightest move, fearing that any carelessness would provoke the golden cudgel and lead to tragedy. Fortunately, after entering the sea of consciousness, the golden cudgel did not act recklessly. It merely circled the core of spiritual essence a few times. Upon finding the spiritual essence as indifferent as a stone towards it, the golden cudgel seemed slightly angered. Just as Sun WuKong's tension reached its peak, a scene that plunged him further into despair unfolded. The golden cudgel initially retreated some distance. Just as Sun WuKong thought it would leave, it suddenly charged fiercely towards the core of spiritual essence. Instantly, Sun WuKong felt as if struck by a fatal blow, his entire body hammered by a giant mallet. A heart-piercing pain erupted from his sea of consciousness, far exceeding the agony caused by the golden fillet. In truth, the golden fillet didn't physically tighten when the tightening fillet spell was chanted. Instead, chanting the spell used a specific method to stimulate the spiritual essence in Sun Wukong's sea of consciousness. When the spiritual essence was agitated and a wisp drifted out, the golden fillet would absorb this spiritual essence, Chai Dot. This was the primary reason Tathagata had tricked Sun Wukong into wearing the golden fillet. But this time, it wasn't stimulation by the golden fillet. It was the golden cudgel actually, violently ramming into it. The immense pain was too much even for Sun Wukong to bear, and he quickly fainted. But fainting was perhaps fortunate, as otherwise he would have endured far greater suffering. Right after Sun Wukong lost consciousness, the golden cudgel abruptly left the sea of consciousness, traveling along his meridians into his dantian. Upon entering the dantian, the golden cudgel began to emit a hazy golden glow. Initially this glow was extremely dim, but in just a moment, sparkling golden motes began to emanate from Sun Wukong's meridians, bones, and flesh, drawn towards the hazy golden light of the golden cudgel. Each time these specks of light merged into the cudgel's aura, its brilliance would intensify by a degree almost imperceptible to the naked eye. Thus, the golden cudgel began to absorb like a whale drawing in water, feasting heartily. While Sun Wukong lay unconscious, a bald monk riding a fire bull had already set foot onto the extreme north ice field.